Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. So, Revelation 20 is one of the most misleading chapters in the Bible. It doesn't occur as you think it does. Satan is not held for a literal 1,000 years, and he doesn't rampage over the earth in the way that you think he does, right? Revelation is best described as a sort of jigsaw puzzle, and it's written in a way that's confusing on purpose, right? Revelation, reveal, alpha, shun, who, what, when, where, how, why, right? Bible, Bible, a deity of sailors, merchants, confusion, storms, and chaos. Revelation 20 is only like 14 verses long. In fact, let's just read it right fast, and then I'll tell you how it actually ends. And I saw an angel coming down out of heaven, having the key to the abyss, and holding in his hand a great chain. I notice this abyss has already been opened. Okay. However, people can't open and shut it, only God. But God is not going to allow somebody to open it up again or close it again, what have you. Nor is God going to allow people to open up the gate to heaven and close it again after my flesh dies. So what I shut and what I open, okay, remains that way unless God, with me at his right hand, decides otherwise. But after my flesh dies, God is not going to decide otherwise. That's one of the misleading parts about it. Okay. So again, and I saw an angel coming down out of heaven, having the keys to the abyss, and holding in his hand a great chain. He seized the dragon, that ancient serpent who was the devil, or Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. He threw him into the abyss and locked and sealed it over him, to keep him from deceiving the nations any more until the 1,000 years were ended. After that, he must be set free for a short time. Okay, so it was to keep him from deceiving the nations, specifically deceiving them. Because you're all lying to yourselves. Everyone you know but me is lying to you, and of course you don't really know me. I'm telling the truth, what have you. I saw thrones on which were seated those who had been given authority to judge, and I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded because of their testimony about Jesus and because of the word of God. They had not worshipped the beast or its image, and had not received its mark on their foreheads or on their hands. They came to life and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. The rest of the dead did not come to life until the 1,000 years were ended. This is the first resurrection. The second death has no power over them, but they will be priests of God and of Christ, and they will reign with him for 1,000 years. The judgment of Satan. When the 1,000 years are over, Satan will be released from his prison and will go out to deceive the nations in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, and to gather them for battle. In number, they are like the sand on the seashore. Okay, keep in mind that the sand also represents Set, who's Baal's counterpart, and the sand is a boundary, right? They've accepted the boundary of being wicked and not obeying God through me, what have you. They marched across the breadth of the earth and surrounded the camp of God's people, the city he loves. But fire came down from heaven and devoured them. And the devil who deceived them was thrown into the lake of burning sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet had been thrown. They will be tormented day and night forever and ever. So this part is true in the sense that after my flesh dies, people are going to see a marked increase in a pitiful, the planet's pitifulness, right? Their souls are going to suffer more and more, what have you. But they won't necessarily notice that because of drugs, the machine, what have you. But the reality of it is that will occur. And then after their flesh dies, they'll be marshaled to extreme punishment. The judgment of the dead. Then I saw a great white throne and him who was seated on it. The earth and the heavens fled from his presence, and there was no place for them. And I saw the dead, great and small, standing before the throne. And books were opened, which is the book of life. The dead were judged according to what they had done, as recorded in the books. Again, the dead were judged according to what they had done. And death and Hades were thrown into the lake of fire. The lake of fire is the second death, Anyone whose name was not found written in the book of life was thrown into the lake of fire. Okay, so in that resurrection, everyone who is dead, okay, those are the people who haven't accepted the mark of the beast. They're dead in their soul as well. And the amount of eternal punishment that they deserve is assigned to them, but they're all suffering forever. Okay. So when their name is not written in the book of life, like the people who came to life and reigned with Christ 1,000 years, according to that chapter. So obviously the chapter was written by someone who was not approved by God to write a holy book. Okay? None of the authors in the Bible were approved by God to write a holy book. But they're right that homosexuality is a sin. They're right that you shouldn't steal and kill for no reason, and so on and so forth. Okay, so now let's wrap this up here. Everyone with any sense knows that it is not justice for the story to revolve around whites, Jews, and LGBT people. That's one of the few things I think anyone thinks needs to be said. Okay, we look at the different types of Jews, the different types of whites, the different types of LGBT people. We'll say no offense to anybody, but it's very obvious. The universe does not revolve around them. They're not chosen by God in any form or fashion. It's obvious, especially the rich. I mean, I've seen a lot of privilege, denial, and arrogance and fragility in my time, but in the rich, it's the worst. When we look at the human story, it is a Royal African Falcon top martial artist order story, first and foremost and by far. The human story is more a Royal African Falcon top martial arts story than the story of the NBA is a story of talented black basketball players. Okay? The legends in the human story are all black. Everyone else is just kind of doing their thing. Okay. Now, when it comes to other cultures, they aren't just less, they're infinitely less, right? Because they're mere profane cultures. And many of them go as far as to pretend they're holy. Okay, you should see what they did to me today out of extreme arrogance, out of extreme childishness. I mean, they really, really sunk to an all-time low during the time of my life. And I don't know why they committed to that course. You know, what they're doing is worse than porn stars and fraternity people. I mean, it's very, very immature. Okay, so again, everyone with any sense knows that it is not justice for the story to revolve around whites, Jews, and LGBT people, especially not the rich among them. The human story is a Royal African Falcon top martial artist order story. Other people are in cultures that are infinitely worse than the Royal African Falcon top martial arts culture. And this is not a racist statement. This is a religious and logical and universally logical statement. So whether people as individuals are less than animals, other people, depends on the individual. Now, the reason why this has to be said is many reasons. I think a lot of them. One of them is that Revelation 20 is highly offensive. When you look at how much they lied, how they coded it, how it's some neo-colonial bullshit, how they want to pretend that some privileged white people and token minorities and Jews and LGBT people want to play a Harry Potter game where they pretend they're ruling with Christ. It's very, very sickening. Very sickening. And we see what's going on in society today, all the sextortion, all the rape by coercion and psychology and confusion and misdirection. It's very, very sickening. As the masses of people refused to rally to me, Revelation 17, 18, 19, and 20 were key parts of their fate, right? Once you actually decode it, and I've done a pretty good job doing that in my videos over time. But said better and simply, them and their offspring were and are cut off from God and heaven for their wickedness, especially their childishness and cowardice. They are not even the same species as I am. When you use a true scale, not a mere scientist-derived one, right? The brain causes evolution to hit humans differently than other life forms. And so there was a drastic divergence as they went toward theater arts and playing games, and my forefathers went toward universal pinpoint and moral precision. But a lot of people in my family over time have chosen to kind of do it the white man's way or whatever, and there's that. The opinions of rebels and their offspring are worth less than a dog's. They are spiritually, mentally, morally, and romantically ruined. I warned them that it would end abruptly and that they would regret what they're doing, and that they should have met my bare minimum requirements, but due to their arrogance, bad genes, and the worst governing class ever leading them, they refused. Okay, so I warned them, and I warned them. Those of you who've been watching my videos, those of you who work this case regularly, you see countless videos where I warn them. I say, don't do that. This is more than just what you think what I want. It's what is going to cost you in reality. They're feeling me and making it harder for me to talk. And they're on some childish stuff. I mean, they're on some American Pie stuff where I'm far more masculine than the real idea that the Black Panther is superimposed on. Okay, far more masculine than that. And they're on some less than Smurfette type of bitch shit. It's just the most painful thing to see is just them acting like complete pussies, throwing their offspring under the bus to the extreme. Okay, life is short, you die anyway. I'm 43 and a half years old. Okay, if I die right now, I'm not missing out on much, right? Just growing older in a world where everyone's acting like a bitch or something. But to see them throw their offspring under the bus and act like complete pussies because there's not a man among them is painful, because we're conditioned on this planet to sort of expect people to be mature and responsible, especially in regards to their families. And we just see that catastrophic failure. We see people acting like complete survival fanatics. They don't care about what's right and wrong. They just want to survive, whether they have a kid or not. Okay? And no one wants to hear them pretend that, oh, I have a family, and that's why. No, we see everyone where they have a family are not acting like a complete bitch. And they're very similar to each other. And that's not a coincidence. You all know damn well that's not a coincidence. Okay. So those who are left are the devil and Gog and Magog in the end. So when the fire comes down and consumes them, right? They surrounded me with their spirits. They were surrounding me with their way about them, their beliefs, their philosophies, their principles, okay? Their fanatic survivalism, crying about how they have families, or crying about how they don't think it's true, or they don't know it's true, and all kinds of just stupid stuff, just cowardly stuff. Abraham, as a character in the story, will say is turning in his grave. Abraham being willing to offer Isaac, what have you. So their unwillingness to do God's work for any pansy reason is disgusting as it gets. So if everything goes as planned, meaning my flesh dies today, and the day I wrote this is the 16th, and I'm about to go back home right now, so there's a small chance that I'm going to die. Okay. Today, I think the chances are much greater when I'm out in public, because they fume and poison me in a certain way out in public, and they do things in a certain way that suggests that that's their plan. I can't really go into detail about it, but that's the case here. Okay, so anyway, so when my flesh dies, they will start rotting inside more rapidly due to the injustice of having screened me out. While I was on the earth in my flesh, I pronounced many serious judgments against them. Okay, so I wrote it that way because I anticipate my flesh being dead soon, and I don't think that this video will get out. But the more repetition really trampled them. I mean, they were throwing fits like complete bitches during the course of this, on behalf of their bosses who ordered them and handpicked them, okay, to do this, right? In their governing class, European, Jewish governing class, LGBT, the military. I mean, the military has no honor left, you know. And I say this, no one to have an official stance of the military video posted. That's still my official stance, but there's no honor left in them. They just completely bent over for pedos and their allies without hesitation, because they were conditioned and bred and trained to put those monsters above God's will. Just horrible mistake. And all the militaries on this planet have failed miserably. God is very angry at them. Okay, I would say I'm let down, but I kind of knew how they were my whole life. None of us believe that anyone in the military is going to do anything good. None of us believe that any politician or any police officer, but it's still disturbing to see. And some of you think I should kiss their ass. Give me a break. That's how the story went. That's how the story ends. Why should I lie? And you people have been acting like bitches this whole time. You first and foremost have submitted and yoked yourself to the spirit of extreme childishness, toxic, evil, sadistic, perverted childishness. And so, any chance that I was going to say this differently, you scrambled to make sure that I wouldn't say it in a way, differently. By that I mean politely, right? You scrambled to make sure that that wouldn't happen. You bent over backwards to make sure it was your governing class, white, Jew, LGBT, token minorities, right? Social clubs, political groups, corporate groups, what have you. You people scrambled to make sure that I didn't put in a way that was diplomatic or something, which I'm not inclined to do, mind you, but you bent over backwards to do that. What was left of your attractive females, and I guarantee you they're not that appealing anymore, okay, they all betrayed me. And you expect me to kiss their ass? Racial provocation, sexual harassment, okay? Immature, childish pranks they do to me every day to provoke me. While I walk around as the top martial artist ever, truly a man, 6'4", a man of great stature, a man of a profound moral presence. I see bitches everywhere I go. Arrogant worms put up their head at me with their heads up their asses, figuratively speaking. If you don't know that I'm right to put it this way, man, were you born fucking yesterday? Really, though?